Welcome everyone to the BX Sports Jedi present of the Notorious G Money Hoop Show and Podcast. Let's get it.
Baby. What's cracking, slacking, cool cats? Hope everyone's doing fine. Hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. Hope everyone's staying safe from the pandemic. Hope everyone's doing fine. So with that, let's get the party started and let's talk about Friday's scores yesterday. So the 76ers knocked off the Mavs 111-101. The process, Joel Embiid was electrifying, 32 points, 8 boards, and 4 assists. The Knicks survived by the skin of their teeth, 197. The Wiz were down by 15 with 3 minutes to go, but sliced into a single point. Kuz had a chance to steal the game in MSG, but it rimmed out a 3. KCP had a chance to tie the game still in overtime, but couldn't do it. And New York survives 197. Mitch was balling, 15 points, 12 rebounds. The Knicks out-rebounded the Wizards 60-38. KP had 18 and 11, but it wasn't enough. The Lakers put the Raptors to extinction 128-123 in Jurassic Park. The Lakers survived due to the fact that Russell Westbrook stole the cookies from Scotty Barnes down the stretch of that game and hit a cuckoo crazy free ball and making sure his little tippy toes were behind the three-point line and sent again to overtime, and thus the Lakers knocking off the Raps in overtime. King James continues to be a Raptor assassin. 36 points, 9 boards, and 7 assists. What helped the Lakers in that game, they splashed 19 threes in that game and shot 44% in that game. So big win for the Lakers. Despite the fact no Ice Tray and no John Collins, the Hawks walloped the Grizz 120-105. Bojan Bogdanovic was hotter than a furnace. 30 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. And the Atlanta Hawks continue. They started off a little slow. They were 17-25 to start, but it continued to so high. They've won 18 out of the last 28 games, 18-10. And what helped Atlanta in that game is that they shot 46% from downtown. And Bogdanovic hit 5 threes off the bench, though. So a big win for the Hawks over the grit and grind Grizzlies. The Nets overcame an 18-point hold to beat the Blazers 128-123. Durantula was big time, 38 points, killed it with the mid-range, the drives. Seth Curry hit big shots in that game, and the Nets win 128-123. The Cavs win a juicy thriller over the Nuggets, 119-116 at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Larry Markkinen was the star of the show, 31 points, 10 boards, 3 dishes. Despite the fact that the Joker had 32, 10, and 8, it didn't matter for the Nuggets because the Cavs, what helped Cleveland win that game was ball movement, player movement, and what helped Cleveland is that Denver only shot 30% from downtown. Cleveland shot 38% from 3. And the Cavs have 31 assists. And that's what helped them in this game. The Nuggets had more turnovers, 19. Some were very careless. And the Cavs survived last night at home. So if you continue with last night's games, the the Heat destroyed the Thunder 120-108. Not destroyed, but they virtually beat them up. Tyler Hero was a superhero, 26 points. The Pacers beat the Rockets 121-118. Battle of the Tanks, by the way. The Pelicans annihilated the Spurs 124-91. In a game that the Pelicans never trailed, they were up 35-7 to start that game. Ay, ay, ay. Valanciunas with Stu Pennis with 16 points, 12 boards. What helped New Orleans win that game in such a dominating fashion. The Spurs only shot 36% from the field, 25% from downtown. The Pelicans up as much as 40 in that game. They killed them in the paint 50-32. The Pelicans did a good job sharing the ball. And the Spurs, man, I think this pretty much kills their chances of them making the play-in, though, because they needed that game. So now they're 2.5 back of New Orleans. The Jazz destroyed the Clippers 121-92. Rudy Gobert, ooh la la, soccer blue, had 19 points, 16 boards, and 2 dishes. What helped the Jazz destroy the Clippers, they hold LA to 36% shooting, 31% from downtown. They had 16 more boards, especially on the offensive glass, had 15 offensive rebounds. They destroyed them in the paint 56-32. And ever since the Clippers had won 5 in a row, they have lost 6 out of the last 8, and now they're under 500. So the Clippers are going to the wrong direction right now. And the Jazz will continue to skyrocket. The Celtics destroyed the Kings 126-97. Jason Tatum has just been phenomenal. 32 points. He's averaging 30 plus in this month in March. And Boston won 2 in a row. They beat Golden State by 22. And then they destroyed the Kings by 29, though. And Boston's also playing legit defense. Ever since the start of the new year, they're number 1 ranked defense. Because you have Robert Williams clogging the paint, Marcus Smart being a bloodhound on defense, Jason Tatum improving his defense, Jaylen Brown being a good on-ball defender, Derek White can get you some deflections and steals. Also, and Mika Udoka is doing a good job with his rotation. So Boston's really stepped it up. Boston started off 25-25. They've won 18 out of the last 21 games. So Boston has just been lining the work. And you want to hear this? The Celtics scorched Golden One Center, hit 22 threes last night, which is on a 55% clip, and had 10 more assists, and killed them in the paint 48-28 in the paint, though. Did a good job shooting the ball. They never trailed in that game last night. So the Celtics body slammed the Kings last night. And last, and certainly not least, the young and fun Phoenix Suns shine bright and destroy the Bulls 129-102. The Phoenix Suns continue to show people that they're not frauds, though. They've won 4 in a row, 9-4 without the point guard CP3. Monty Wilson's done a great job bringing toughness, leadership to the squad. Devin Booker's done a good job bringing leadership. DeAndre Ayton's killed it in the paint. DeMar DeRozan only had 19 points and 6 for 14 shooting. Here's what's crazy. LaVine was 1 for 7. Dosunmu was 2 for 9 for the Bulls. Vucevic did have 16 points, but it didn't feel impactful. DeRozan only had 19. So the Suns killed them in every facet. Look at this. Phoenix out-rebounded Chicago by 12. The Bulls only shot 7 for 27 from downtown. The Suns were 44% for 11 for 25. The Suns had more assists. They had more turnovers. They got fixed that. The Suns had 10 more points in the paint. But what helped the Phoenix Suns win that game with ease is the fact that they did a good job sharing the ball, getting to transition, finding the open man, and they did a good job with their defensive rebounding. They had 39 defensive rebounds to the Bulls 24, and that's why the Phoenix Suns had it so easy against the Chicago Bulls, and they sweep the Bulls in the season series, by the way. So if you look at the standings right now in each conference, though, Miami's number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They win their division. They win the Southeast division. Congrats to the Heat. Right, they're really 47-24. The Milwaukee Bucks right now are 44-26, the number two. The 76ers are 43-26, the number three. The Celtics right now 43-28, they're number four in the East. The Bulls have continued to just slide off. They lost three in a row. They're 41-29, they're fifth. The Cavs 40-30, they're a game back of the Bulls. The Raps blew a tough game last night. They had won five in a row until the disaster last night. They're 39-31, they're number seventh, in the Eastern Conference. The Nets are 37-34. They're eighth in the Eastern Conference. The Hawks and the Hornets are 35-35 each, but Atlanta has beaten Charlotte a few times. So Atlanta's 9, while Charlotte's number 10. New York is 30-40. They're 11th in the East. Washington is 29-40. They're 12th in the East. And Indiana, Detroit, and Orlando are done. If you look at the Western Conference, the Red Hot Suns, who have won 4 in a row, they're on the verge of clinching the number 1 seed. They're 57-14. The Memphis Grizzlies are 48-23. They're number 2 in the West, which is a shocker. The Warriors are 47-23. They're third in the West, and we'll talk more about the Warriors soon. The Utah Jazz are number 4 in the West. They're 44-26. They won 2 in a row. The Mavs are 43-27. They just lost to the Sixers last night. They're 5th in the West. The Nugs are 42-29. They're 6th in the Western Conference. They just lost last night to the Cavs. The T-Wolves have just continued to howl. Oh! They've won 3 in a row. They're only 1 game back of the Nugs. And remember, Minnesota's beaten Denver twice, so keep that in mind, though. If Minnesota can catch Denver, salute Neil. If Minnesota can catch Denver in the standings, Minnesota can avoid that play-in tournament. So Denver has to be careful. And Minnesota's playing today against Milwaukee. So they game back of Denver. So Minnesota is 7th in the Western Conference, 41-30. The LA Clippers are under 500, 36-37. They lost 3 in a row now. And like I said, after that 5-game winning streak, that Nick loss right there for the Clippers could be costly because they're on a roll, but they lost 6 out of the last 8. So they're under 500. The Lakers had a good win against the Raptors. They're 9th in the West. They're 30-40. The Pelicans are 29-41. They're 10th in the West. The Spurs are 27-44. They're 11th in the West. The Blazers are 26-43, or the Portland Tank Blazers, I should say. They're just throwing in the towel. They're 26-43. They lost 3 in a row. The Sacramento Kings are 25-47. They're done. The OKC Thunder, they're 13th in the West. The Thunder, they're 20-50. They're 14th in the West. Their season's over. They lost 8 in a row. And the Rockets are eliminated for playoff contention. And the other teams who are eliminated, the Pacers, the Pistons, and the Magic. So that's the NBA news right there. And when you look at today's games, you have the Bucks at the Twin Cities against the Red Hot Wolves at 5. 7 o'clock, you got the Mavs at Buzz City against the Hornets. You got the Pistons and the Cavs at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, formerly known as the Q in Cleveland. And you got Kyle Kuzma and the Wiz trying to get revenge on LeBron James and the Lakers at 8 o'clock at the nation's capital in D.C. In D.C. And the Wizards have lost 6 in a row, 9 of the last 11. So after they were having a good lead, having a 10 seed, they just crapped it away, and now they're 11th. So if you look at the divisions of each team, Boston's leading the Atlantic Division at number 1, followed by Brooklyn number 2. Oh, excuse me, my fault. So sorry, made a mistake. So who's leading the division right now? In the division, Philly's number 1 leading the division. Boston's number 2 leading the division. Brooklyn's Toronto's number 3 leading the division. Brooklyn's number 4 in the division. And then New York number 5 standings over on the Atlantic Division. In the Pacific Division, Golden State, Phoenix is leading the Pacific Division and going to win the division. Then it's Golden State. Then it's the LA Clippers. Then it's the Lakers. and then the bumbling, stumbling Kings in the Pacific Division. If you look at the Central Division, the Bucks are leading the division. Then it's the Bulls. Then it's the Cavs. Then it's the Pacers. And then the Pistons for the Central. For the Southeast Division, the Miami Heat flambe their opponents and win their Southeast Division. They're number one in the Southeast. Then number two is the Hawks. Number three is the Hornets. Number four is the Wiz. And number five is the Orlando Tragic. Then the Northwest Division. If you look at it, number one is the Jazz. Number two is the Nugs. Number three is the T-Wolves. Number four is the Blazers. Number five is the Thunder. If you look at the Southeast Division, number one is the surprising Grizz. Number two is the Mavs. Number three is the Pels. Number four is the Spurs. And number five is the Rockets. So that's your divisions for the league. You have the Atlantic, Pacific, Central, Southeast, Northwest, and Southwest divisions in the NBA. If you look at it. So, what do I think about some of these games this week? The games that caught my eye, to me, was that Lakers-Raptors game. That game was amazing. It was back and forth, juicy, due to the death, to the nail. It was amazing. The Lakers had a great start. They led 15-5 to start that game. In fact, they led by 11, but Toronto battled all the way back to win that game at the end. Excuse me, LA had to survive at the end because Scotty Barnes had the ball in his hands, but he coughed it up, and then Westbrook snatched the cookies from him and hit a cuckoo crazy three with his foot barely on the line, barely behind the line, to send the game to overtime, and thus the Lakers had to survive in overtime to get their first road win in a while. The Lakers had lost 11 straight road games away from Hollywood, but they finally got a W away from their own canvas, and they finally got a much needed win and avoid the season series against Toronto. If you're the Raptors, man, the Raptors needed that game. Salute, Cat. Do I think the Lakers are cooked? Yeah. I don't think the Lakers go far, man. I do think they're cooked. I don't think this team's going far. They lack depth. Their shooting is inconsistent. They don't make free throws. I don't think this team's going far. If they were to make the playoffs, they're going home in the first round. They're not going to go far. They're not going to go far at all. So I think they're done. But I want bad news for Warriors fans. Chef Curry banged his ankle with Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart was trying to go for the ball, but he slid it on Steph Curry's ankle on his foot. So Steph Curry will be out 2 weeks due to a sprained ligament in his foot. So if you had to make a guess, he won't be back to somewhere in April. If I had to be honest, I don't think the Chef will return until playoffs. So if you look at the Warriors schedule, right? If you look at the Golden State Warriors schedule to end the season, it is a big loss for them to lose their best player. But if you look at the Warriors schedule to end the season, they have only had 12 games to go to 47-23. They're home against the Spurs tomorrow. Then they're at Orlando Tuesday, at Miami Wednesday, at Hotlanta next Friday, at Washington next Sunday, at Memphis March 28th, at home against the Surging Suns on Wednesday, March 30th on ESPN. Saturday, April 2nd, home against Utah. April 3rd, they're at Sacktown. April 7th, the final home game of the season for the Warriors, home against the Lakers on TNT. And then they're at San Antonio April 9th and at New Orleans April 10th. If I had to guess for the Warriors, I say the Warriors can survive their schedule. I think they'll beat the Spurs, Magic, Wizards, Kings, Lakers, Spurs, and the Pelicans. So I think the Warriors can survive without Steph Curry, without the last few games. I know losing Steph Curry, you lose a playmaker, a guy that can create his own shot, a guy that can space the floor, a guy that can penetrate. So that's a big loss if you're the Golden State Warriors. But I think that salute LB, what's cracking slacking, man?
What up, Gideon?
Hi, how you doing, man? Welcome to my show, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? Just chilling. Just got done doing video of my own or whatever like that. Nothing sports related, though. But I'm chilling.
Right. By the way, subscribe to Sports and Politics LB, everybody. Subscribe to his channel, please. He knows his sports, his politics. He's amazing.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. So what do you think about this NBA season so far, man?
Outside of a whole bunch of star players being hurt, I really think the quality of basketball has gone down. Considering that a lot of times you see guys come down and just jack up threes. You don't really see a whole lot of ball movement. Certain teams do it, but most of the other teams don't.
Right.
But on the flip side, with established stars like Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, and some of those guys going down, we're starting to see some new players emerge, like Anthony Simons, and he's down to injury now. But Brandon Williams, he's been serviceable. We're starting to see guys like Scotty Barnes emerge when Fred VanVleet went down. He's one of the contending guys for Rookie of the Year. Evan Mobley, another guy that's my personal favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's emerged. He's ever since Jared Allen went down. So that's the thing, man. These guys in the league and they get a chance to show what they got when they get the opportunity.
Right. So that's a great point. I want to ask you, who has been your surprise and disappointing team to this point?
The surprise team has been the Cleveland Cavaliers, hands down. Coming to the season, nobody really thought the Cavaliers was going to do anything, to be honest with you, let alone be in the top 6. So, for me, the most surprising team has been the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the most disappointing team has been. See, there's two teams that come to mind. The Knicks is by far the first team, and the other team has been the Sacramento Kings, and this is why. The Sacramento Kings came into the season with playoff aspirations. They prioritized De'Aaron Fox as their as the man or whatever like that, right, so to speak. I mean, they had talented guys like Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton and all that, and Luke Walton. And what did we see? Luke Walton got fired. We saw Tyrese Halliburton get traded, despite the fact he expressed a desire to stay there and build a championship team long term. And you had Buddy Hield, who has been up and down, but we all know his value is tied to shooting, and he really don't give you a whole lot of defense. He really don't do anything else. So if he goes on a night where he's 2 of 13, then he's practically worthless.
True.
So with all that, but that being said, I have to give it to the Knicks. The Knicks made the fourth. They were the 4th seed in the playoffs last year. Julius Randle was a most improved player and came off an All-Star appearance. And you would have thought that they would have built upon that, but the signing of Kemba Walker didn't work. He's out the rotation. Evan Fournier, he's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type player, where one night he's 10 or 15, another night he's 2 or 15. So you got these uneven performances, and plus on top of that, those two are defensive liabilities. I mean, come on, Tom Thibodeau had goddamn on Evan Fournier on Kevin Durant for crying
Gee
out loud.
whiz! Oh boy,
Jesus Christ,
it was barbecue chicken for KD.
Sweet baby Jesus, man.
Mhm.
And then you had Julius Randle's regressed. He still can't beat double teams. He still can't go right. He's getting, he's getting to it with the refs, and he's getting to everybody else, and he want to boo the fans because the fans are booing him for his performance. So he's regressed. And then you had your multitude injuries, whether it be Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quigley, Quentin Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, and he's been healthy for the most part this year. But and then Tom Thibodeau going back to his old ways, man. He's not playing none of the younger guys.
You have a good point. Obi Toppin barely played last night. And speaking of the Knicks, right? The Knicks had to survive against the Wizards. They were up by 15 with 3 minutes to go in that game. The Wizards actually sliced the lead to 1 because Kyle Kuzma hit 3 crazy threes. But then down the stretch of that game, Kuzma took kind of a bad 3 at the end from like almost the parking lot. And then RJ hit the free throws, and then KCP airballed the fadeaway to center overtime. Yes, I'm happy the Knicks won the game, but I'm not happy the way we won the game. You get what I'm saying, man? Because it's like if you're up 15 with 3 minutes to go, you gotta know to take the time off the clock, get the right possessions, find the open man, do the lobs, hit your mid-range shots still, and that's why they're just inconsistent to me, man. They're just inconsistent. I'm happy we won the game, but it's like, yes, we helped New York win that they out rebound Washington 60-38. But I get what you're saying, Albie. New York has been disappointing because we're one of the worst teams in scoring in the second half of games. We don't have a go-to guy in close games. There's a lot of players who regress. Alec Burks has been terrible this season. Julius Randle's been up and down all year. RJ Barrett's been a bright spot, but he's not efficient. What else is there? Missing free throws. We shot well at the line in the fourth quarter, made all 14 of our free throws, but usually we struggle in close games because of free throws. And that is why we aren't the bugaboo. And also, like you said, Tom Thibodeau. Again, personally for me, I would not fire Thibodeau yet, but the problem with Tom Thibodeau, he needs to learn to adapt. If he learns to adapt, which is so hard, if he learns to adapt and be willing to open his mind and play the young guys, like give Sims more minutes, give Obi more minutes, rotate, miss and match. Don't overplay Randle or RJ. I mean, look at this, man. Even though we won the game last night, look at this. RJ had 40 minutes. Randle had 39. Why? Like, come on, man. You let him rest.
I agree. And that comes with playing some of the young guys more. Now, that's the thing. Now, I say the New York Knicks is the most disappointing team. Now, the popular consensus is going to be the Lakers, right?
Right.
But there's a reason why I didn't pick the Lakers, and because I knew coming into the season that this team weren't going to be any good. Now, Gideon, you follow my channel. How many videos I put out before the season began about the Lakers weren't going to be any good?
A lot. You put a lot of videos about the Lakers being potentially in this mediocre team. Yeah, a lot.
So I know for the general consensus that might be the popular choice, but I knew coming into the season that this team weren't going to be any good. Considering that Russell Westbrook likes to play like a goddamn Tasmanian devil, right? And this is why I fought the Lakers organization, Gideon. You got a scouting department. You just saw how Dennis Schroeder played. Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook are basically the same player. Both inefficient. Both don't lead their team. They're score first point guards. They're not guards that are like a Chris Paul who can make sure that people are in the right positions and all that.
Right.
Because Chris Paul can impact the game through so many ways.
Facts. But
Russell Westbrook, he's a volume, albeit inefficient shooter, just like Dennis Schroeder. He's a volume, albeit inefficient shooter. Both of them don't play good defense. Both of them have turned the ball over at a high rate. So if you're the scouting department and you just seen how Dennis Schroeder played, why in the hell would you trade for Russell Westbrook when they're virtually the same player?
Good point. That's a good point, though. And
So
another
when I saw
problem.
that,
Go ahead.
when I saw that trade went down, then then you got the whole LeBron factor, hemorrhaging the youth to try to win now, and when you see that in place, and it's like it was just a recipe for disaster. And when they got that early schedule, when they had all those cupcake opponents, and they were losing to these cupcake opponents, that should tell you right there that this team was in trouble.
They exactly. They lost to Portland. Exactly. They lost to Portland without Dame at one game. And speaking of their easy schedule, I mean, look at it, right? They blew a big lead to Golden State without Klay Thompson. They lost to the Suns, right? They were down by 30 in that game. They lost to the Thunder after leading by 26. They lost to the Thunder again after leading by 19. They lost at Portland by 15. They got waxed at home by the T-Wolves by 24. They lost to the Bulls, etc. That they lost to the Knicks. They had some bad losses in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's some bad losses in there. So okay. So who has been your sixth man of the year? What have you ever watched? Your sixth man of the year?
Hands down, my sixth man of the year is Kevin Love. He's been amazing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and his contributions off the bench has been part of the reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers were one of the most surprising teams in the NBA. He's been amazing. It just so happens, you see what these guys do when they're no longer under the shadow of LeBron James and all that. Because let's face it, LeBron's a dynamic player. He's going to go down the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
But if you pay attention to the patterns, right, and I'm glad I could talk to you and not some LeBron James flunky or some dim
fanboy, yeah.
Yeah, fanboy, dimwit, dicklick, whatever, right? When all those guys, if you've seen how they played before they got to LeBron and after they left them, whether it be Chris Bosh, whether it be Kevin Love, whether it be Kyle Kuzma, and those just three of them. Those just three names that just jumped off, right? All those guys had to change their games to suit him. Now, for two of the three, Kevin Love and Chris Bosh, when Chris Bosh was in Toronto and Kevin Love was in Minnesota, where those guys were at? Those guys were down the block. They did most of their damage in the paint, getting rebounds, averaging double-doubles pretty much every night. Right?
Right.
When they got with LeBron, we all know LeBron like driving and kicking. And sometimes, a lot of times, he'll drive and finish or he'll drive and kick. So you can't have Kevin Love and Chris Bosh camping out down there. They have to be like catch and shoot guys. That's why they were relegated to the baseline and 3-point line. And at that point, their games have regressed as a result of that. So, and then when LeBron left, you see whether it be going to a new team or whatever like that, you see that their games came back. Their numbers pretty much got back up to damn near all-star level before they got with LeBron. So, and I don't want to make this video about LeBron and whatever like that because there's enough talk about that motherfucker. But
language.
I'm sorry, guys. There's enough talk about that dude, but more than enough talk. But I'm just using that as an example of what can happen when you get with such a dynamic player. But as far as like to have to go back to your original question, I think Kevin Love will win sixth man of the year. Right. But I think also other guys' contention could be like a Desmond Bain. Who's the one guy that played for I can't remember him off the top of my head right now, but I think he. Oh man. But those are the two guys that jumps out to me right now: Desmond Bain and Kevin Love. But if I had to pick one, it'd be Kevin Love, hands down.
Right. Okay. So, okay then. Okay. I want to ask you, since we're talking about close to the playoffs, right? What do you personally think about the whole playing tournament situation? Do you like it? Do you not? You're not a big fan of it? What do you think about the playing?
Well, as I talked about in the video I did last week Sunday, right? And it was a very good video, by the way. I don't like the playing tournament. Me personally, I cannot stand it. You had 82 games to determine who makes the playoffs. And then, on top of that, you're trying to incorporate player safety. But if you're adding more games, how are you incorporating player safety if you're adding more games?
True.
You had 82 games to figure this out.
Right.
You know, I don't believe in realigning the conference and all that stuff. That's more talking heads on national TV. I'm not going to specifically name names on this channel, nothing like that, out of respect for the platform.
Right.
But on national TV, you hear a whole lot of talking heads talk about how they need to realign the conferences to make it where the 16 teams with the best record make it. Nah, they don't need to do none of that. They had 82 games to figure it out. Me personally, I would like to see them go back to the division format, where the division champion gets a top seed, like they do in NFL or whatever like that. They had it in the NBA, but once again, talking heads and networks get in there, and they start changing stuff up to try to drive viewership, and at the end of the day, it's to make money. So, but I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. I'm not. If that's the case, you might as well go to the NCAA format and play the regular season, and then have everybody playing the during NBA tournament or something like that. If you're gonna do all that, but no, I'm not a fan of that. I hope the next round of CBAs, this thing goes away, and they just play it out, the 82 games, and no more 1-2 game playoff and all that.
Right. I get
that's
that.
Where I stand on that.
Right. Because there's certain teams right now that might get robbed from the playing. You got the T-Wolves, who've had a phenomenal year. You have the Raptors, who have had a phenomenal year. Even the Cavs. One of those teams might even miss the playoffs because of the play-in tournament. So I get your point. I look at both sides, right? To me, the play-in tournament is not a bad idea, but at the same time, I can see why you don't like it. Why should a 7 seed and 10 seed get involved? I don't think that's reasonable. Here's what I think the play-in should be like, okay? Have the 8 and 9 seeds have the same record and have the season series be tied. Then, after the season ends, then you can do a tournament to see who gets the 8 seed. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, the Clippers and the Lakers had the same record. I'm just saying, LB, just a hypothetical. Let's say they had the same record. Let's say they were tied at 2-2. Then you can have a play-in tournament. You get what I'm saying, LB? Then you can do that, though. But 1 through 7 should be safe, clinching a playoff spot. And 10 seed, it's like, why should you be involved? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 should be done for the rest of the year. So that's what I think the play-in should be involved. You have the play-in involved when the 8 and 9 seeds have the same record and they're tied in the season series. Other than that, if one team either win the season series or another team has a better record, we don't need a play-in. So I get what you're saying, LB. Because don't forget too, injuries can play a factor. Like if you're a 7 or 8 seed, right? And let's say if Carlton Towns gets hurt or Scotty Barnes, you're screwed playing against a higher seed. So that's why I think Adam Silver should have thought about this playing a little bit, though. So that's my thing with the whole play-in tournament situation, though. That's my thing with the whole play-in. So I want to ask you, what do you think about the Warriors without Steph Curry? Do you think they can survive without Steph Curry, LB? Because he hurt himself against the Celtics.
Yeah. So about that, I don't feel that was a dirty play by Marcus Smart when he was going for the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, him kicking Klay Thompson while Klay Thompson trying to lead the ball up. Now, that's a dirty play.
He almost tried to hurt him, yeah.
Yeah, he almost hurt Klay Thompson as that. So, but having said all that, the Warriors' schedule is relatively easy.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that will help them out in that.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think they got one or two tough games. I think they got like one more game with Phoenix.
Yeah, I do. I have the schedule. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they're home against San Antonio tomorrow. They're at Orlando Tuesday, at Miami Wednesday, at Atlanta next Friday, at Washington next Sunday. Then the March 28th, they're at Memphis. March 30th, they're home against Phoenix on ESPN. April 2nd, they're home against Utah. April 3rd, they're at Sacramento. April 7th, they're home against the LA Lakers on TNT. April 9th, they're at San Antonio. And April 10th, at New Orleans. Yeah, their schedule's not too bad.
Yeah, they got. So of that, there's like 10 games right there.
12. They got 12.
So of the 12 games, they're like, but 5 of those games are relatively tough. 2 with Phoenix, 1 with
No, 1 with Phoenix. There's 1 more with Phoenix.
I thought you said they had 2 more games left.
No, there's 1 more game. No, there's 1 more. They played 3 times. The Suns won the first game, and then the last 2 games the Warriors won.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so you got that game. You got the game against Memphis. That's gonna be a tough one. Memphis had their number all year.
Mm-hmm. Miami will be tough.
Miami's gonna be a tough game. They go to Miami.
They gotta go to Miami. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Miami's always been a tough place to play. So you got Phoenix, Miami, Memphis, Utah. That's not.
That'll be tough.
Huh?
That'll be tough because I know they're at home against Utah, but don't forget the Jazz almost beat them there without Donovan Mitchell. Don't forget, but Donovan's rimmed out of free. They almost beat them there.
And they didn't need Donovan Mitchell where they destroyed the Clippers last night.
Right.
So they got a couple tough games, but so the schedule is relatively easy. So they can withstand to miss Stephen Curry. The only problem with that is Memphis is on the surge. And Memphis is number 2, right?
Yeah, they're number 2. Yeah, they're number 2. They're a half game above the Warriors. They're number 2 right now in the West. Yeah.
Okay, so Golden State might draw Denver in the first round.
That'll be tough.
So, yeah, they might. Yeah, I didn't even look at the standings. I just guessed that.
Yeah, the Warriors are number 3. They might be playing the Nuggets in the first round. Speaking of Denver, right? Denver's only 1 game up on Minnesota. I want to ask you, do you see the T-Wolves overlapping the Nuggets to get 6, or you think Denver stays where they are?
Minnesota's been playing really good basketball, so now do I expect them to go far? No. But they're gonna be a tough out. And Denver, to their discredit, and this is part of my reason why I don't think Jokic should be the MVP, is they've lost some games they had no business losing, man. It's like
OKC's, yeah.
When you and this is why I've been banging the drum about firing Mike Malone. And because the Denver Nuggets are way too talented of a team. Yeah, they had injuries and stuff like that, right? But there's just some games they had no business losing, man. And
right. That's some bad losses all year. OKC, New Orleans. I mean, seriously. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So, do I think Minnesota overtakes Denver? They got a shot. That's a tough one. I would have to go. Yeah, I think they do.
I have their schedules right now. If you want me to read Denver and Minnesota's.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so let me start with the Nuggets. Denver, just say win or loss. They're home against Boston tomorrow. What's your guess?
Denver is home against Boston tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an L. Boston's been playing great ball lately.
Right. They're home against the Clippers on Tuesday.
And they might can win that one.
Okay. Home against the Suns on Thursday.
That's an L.
All right. Home against the Thunder on Saturday.
They should win that game.
Okay. At Charlotte Monday.
I think they can beat Charlotte.
Okay. At Indiana on March 30th.
They should win that game.
Home against Minnesota April 1st.
That's a tough one right there, man. Minnesota's resurging, man. I think Minnesota beats them.
For the third time. Okay. They're at Lakerland on ABC.
They'll beat the Lakers. They
Okay. Suck. Okay. Home against the Spurs.
They should win that game.
Home against the Grizzlies.
They probably lose that game.
And home against the Lakers.
They'll win that game.
Okay. So let me see. They have 12 games to go. No, 11 games. Let me see. So you're saying Boston lost. So let me see. Boston lost. Phoenix lost. You're saying Minnesota lost. Memphis. So you're saying they go 8-4 to end the season. Okay. So that gives them like 50 wins. Okay. Let me try Minnesota. Minnesota's 41-30. They're home against Milwaukee today.
They beat Milwaukee earlier this season, and Milwaukee's been up and down. That's a toss-up right there, but I think Milwaukee gets revenge and beats them.
Okay, they're at Dallas Monday.
Dallas played very well at home, so I think they lose that game.
Okay, home against Phoenix.
That's a loss.
Okay, home against Dallas.
They'll beat Dallas.
Okay, at Boston.
That's a loss.
At Toronto.
I think they could beat Toronto.
Okay, and you picked them to beat Denver. Okay, they're at Houston.
That's a dub.
Home against Washington.
That's a win.
Home against San Antonio.
That's a win.
Home against Chicago.
That's a win because Chicago can't beat good teams.
Right. Okay. So let me check the losses. Milwaukee lost. Dallas, that's 2. Phoenix 3. Boston 4. Let's see. Boston 4. So they're 41-30. So they go 8-4. So they just miss out. So they go 49-33. Okay. So the Nuggets stay where they are. Okay.
So that goes back to the original question you asked me then. In that case, then Minnesota does not overtake Denver.
Right.
But they got a good shot, though. They got a shot.
They have a great chance. They have a great chance. And what do you think about the Phoenix Suns playing well without Chris Paul? What do you think about them?
Well, that just only further strengthens the chances of making the NBA Finals. They got some off the court stuff going on, but on the court they've been amazing. They've been great all year. Second year in a row, top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency and whatever. Monty Williams, who I believe last year should have been coach of the year. And you know what? I know we were talking a lot about JB Bickerstaff winning coach of the year, but Monty Williams should be in that running as well.
Right, I agree. Yes, right.
They've been great. Mikal Bridges, one of the premier wing defenders in the NBA. Devin Booker, he's the closer. Chris Paul, we all know, is the leader. He's out right now, but they've been churning wins along. And they missed Jay Crowder last night, but they ain't like they needed them because they blew the Bulls out of the water. See, it's games like that. See, I pay attention to games like that in the regular season because games like that would determine who are the contenders and who are the pretenders. And last night's game between the Suns and Bulls proved who are the contenders and who are the pretenders.
Right. And speaking of Suns Bulls last night, what helped the Phoenix Suns is that they did a good job containing their big guns. You want to hear this, man? Let me bring it up. The Phoenix Suns hold Levine to 1 of 7 shooting, which is crazy. They hold DeRozan to 6 of 14 shooting, 19 points. And also, what helped the Suns destroy the Bulls, they killed them on the rebounding, 49 and 37, especially the defensive rebounding, which was good for them. The Bulls only shot 26% from three, 7 of 27 from three.
Well,
The
that counts
Suns,
for Phoenix's wing defense. Phoenix's wing defense is elite.
right? It is. Bridges, Crowder's good on ball defense. Cam Johnson's an underrated defender. Booker's improved his defense this year. And what I also love about Booker, he improved his IQ, if you notice, though. Devin Booker knows when to get the right shot. And also DeAndre Ayton. Now I'm seeing him feed him more of the ball. I'm like, all right, now he's getting more touches. Because I felt last year in the finals, they didn't give him enough the ball, you know? This year, I feel they're giving more of the ball. And also, I love Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne started off a little bit slow, but he's played well, getting guys involved, find the open man. The Suns are deep, man. And if Phoenix is fully healthy, I have a bold prediction, LB. If the Phoenix Suns are fully healthy, I think they're going to win the championship. Many people think that the Phoenix Suns are quote unquote frauds.
No, they're not frauds. They're not frauds.
They're not.
The Bulls are frauds. The Utah Jazz are frauds. This team, the Phoenix Suns team, is the real deal Holyfield. And guess what? Jay Crowder didn't play last night.
Nope.
Cam Johnson didn't play last night.
Nope.
And they still destroyed the Bulls.
They still destroyed them, and they're deep. And don't forget their defense, like you said, their defense. They're good at getting deflections, steals, lobs. They're very deep, man. Look, I am a Knicks fan, but I am kind of rooting for the Suns to win the championship because I felt bad for them last year, and they're a deep team. And Monty Williams has proven once again why he's a great coach. So you can't use the Chris Paul excuse. I know Chris Paul is a great player, but Chris Paul has not played since All-Star break. And look what they're doing now. And don't forget this too, LB. Devin Booker missed some games too, and they still got it done. People need to understand this though. Ayton missed 21 games. Chris Paul missed 13 straight games. Booker missed 10 plus games. Cameron Payne missed, I think, 22 games. They've not been healthy all year, and it's still whooping teams' butt right now. It's unbelievable. And they're a team out there that I think people do not want to sleep on. If they're fully healthy, I believe they're going to win the championship. I want to ask you, LB, what playoff matchup we're getting close to April. What playoff matchup do you want to see personally?
Provided the seedings fall what they do. The Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals.
That'd be nice.
And then Golden State and Memphis in the Western Conference Semis.
That'd be nice. That might very well happen. In
the East. I want to see the Sixers and Nets.
That might happen in the first round. If Philly's only a half game back of Milwaukee, so if Philly can get number 2, Milwaukee beats Toronto or Cleveland in the play-in, you may get Philly and Brooklyn.
Yeah, only problem with Brooklyn is if they go to Toronto, Kyrie can't play.
Right, because of their own vaccine mandate, yeah.
And they've not beaten Toronto all year.
They beat Toronto one game.
No, they did beat them
one game.
The second game, I think, they played. That game with the overtime.
They beat them twice. My fault. They beat them twice, in fact.
No, Toronto beat Brooklyn twice.
No, they did. But I'm saying that the Raptors also beat the Nets twice. Nets beat the Raptors twice. I meant to, yeah, they did. But I meant to say that the Brooklyn beat Toronto twice too. You can check though. Brooklyn
beat Toronto twice. They only played 3 times this year.
No, they played twice. I think. Let me check.
Because I remember they played in a back-to-back, and Toronto won both those games. Toronto blew them out in Brooklyn, and then they went back to Toronto the next time and beat them in overtime. So it was probably the first time they played with Brooklyn beat them.
No, Brooklyn beat them twice. Brooklyn won by 13 in Toronto. Then Brooklyn won by 2 the second time. Then Toronto
This year?
destroyed them. Yeah, this year. Yeah. Then the
Hold on, I gotta
second
look
time,
that up because that's not
yeah,
how I remembered it.
yeah, you could type in You could type in Raptors Nets 2022. You can check. The
Yeah, I'm gonna check
Raptors
that
beat
out. Huh.
Yeah, the Raptors beat the Nets by 36 the third meeting, and then they won, and the Toronto won by 1 point the last meeting. Yeah, so the season series is tied 2-2.
Oh,
So
so it's
yeah,
tied 2-2.
it's tied 2-2.
Okay, okay.
It's
All
tied
right.
2-2. And if you're the Raptors, that was a bad loss last night. That was a bad loss last night. Like, you had a
Yeah.
3-point lead with the ball. If you're Scotty Barnes, you gotta fight through the double team. You gotta handle the basketball. You gotta handle the ball. I know he's a rookie. I get that. But if you handle the ball, you probably get fouled. He's a good free throw shooter. They probably win that game. So if he handles the ball, he makes 1 out of 2. I think they can win that game. And then Westbrook stole the ball and hit a 3 ball. And remember, he had the Michael Jackson moonwalk behind the 3-point line to make sure this little tippy toes were behind that 3. Because he almost did a KD and shot at 2. But he wanted to make sure his foot was behind the line. So that was a good win for the Lakers and kind of a bad loss for the Raptors, though. Do you think the Raptors are going to make the playoffs?
They could. They could. I think they could make the playoffs. To be honest with you, yeah.
I mean, right now the 7th seed. If they stay where they are, all they have to do is win one game. But if I were Toronto, I'm trying to get the 6th seed. If I were them, because you don't want to put yourself in a play-in. You don't want to do that though, because you don't want to play against Brooklyn because KD's a bad man, and it's also
They got to overtake Cleveland for that.
Yeah, that overtake Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland's only a game above them. And speaking of Chicago, do you know Chicago's only 2 games from dropping to 7? Do you notice that?
Well, it wasn't that long ago they were the top seed team in the East. So I mean, but they're frauds, man. Like I told you, man, they don't know how to beat good teams, bro.
Right.
They are frauds.
Right. How far you think the Bulls will go in the playoffs if you had to guess?
Probably be a first round exit.
You don't think they can beat Boston in the first round?
No. Not with the way Boston's playing, they're not. No.
Right. And Boston's played great defense. And their execution's been phenomenal. Jason Tatum's taking the next step. Jaylen Brown's playing well. Marcus Smart's playing well. On-ball defense hitting threes. Pritchard's hitting some big shots. Robert Williams protecting the rim, man. Boston's they started off slow. They were 25-25. They've 18-3 ever since. How far do you see the Green Leprechauns from Boston going?
They got potential to make the Eastern Conference Finals. The key word is potential.
Right.
But realistically, though, I see them as a second round exit.
Okay, so Jedi says the Bulls are the 22 version of the Knicks, and they will get gentlemen swept in the playoffs. I can actually still think that's going to happen, though. Them getting gentlemen swept in the playoffs.
Yeah, they might get swept in the playoffs, but either way, they're going home in the first round. They're a first round exit. Bulls are not. Their defense has regressed. Them losing Lonzo Ball, I didn't really hurt them. And Lonzo's still nowhere near recovery. As the report came out last night. And then you had most of their scoring only tied to 3 guys: DeRozan, LaVine, and Vooch.
Right.
And so when you got Javonte Green, who can play, but he's not gonna see no court in front of DeRozan and LaVine and whatever. Then you got Patrick Williams, another guy who's underrated defensively, but he can't stay healthy. Remember, he was out most of the year. And then you had Alex Caruso, who just got back, and he is a hustle guy, not really a guy that can go out there and get you 30. So when I think of all that,
Right.
When I think about all that, I just think the Bulls. It's been a good year for them, but they're going home in the first round.
Right. Oh, right. And another thing to add to your point, also Levine and Lonzo, they don't have playoff experience. Same thing with Patrick Williams. Some guys don't have playoff experience. DeMar DeRozan, he plays well in the regular season,
But Vooch
but in
don't
the
have it either.
no, Vooch, he's only been to the playoffs technically 3 times. 2012 with Philadelphia as a backup, Orlando twice, and Vucevic is up and down in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, because the one year they played with Toronto.
Toronto, he looked terrible in that series. And then
Yeah.
2020 with Orlando, they got destroyed by Milwaukee. And then 2012, he was on the last AC to ever beat a number one. He was with Philly, but he was a backup. And then they beat Chicago, ironically, and then they lost to Boston. But the Bulls, man, they have a lot of talent. But what the Bulls need, they need a bench. The Bulls don't have a bench that can. They don't have any shot creators off the bench. And to me, I just don't think the Bulls are ready to take that next step yet. I don't trust DeRozan in big games though. Like DeRozan struggles in big games, especially against high level teams. Have you noticed that though?
Yeah, and people were actually putting him on the MVP conversation.
I mean, I was actually one of those people because he was actually playing well, but he's kind of tailed off as of late. The Bulls have tailed off as of late. They've tailed off. And speaking of a team that hasn't tailed off, the Memphis Grizzlies. How far do you think those Grizzly Bears are going to go in the postseason?
The Grizzlies, they got potential. They got potential to beat Phoenix. They got potential to beat Golden State. They're a really good defensive team. They got multiple guys that can shoot between John Morant, Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr. They got a really a guy that can control the paint, and Steven Adams.
Right.
They got a really good bench.
Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, Anthony Melton.
Yeah. So when I think about the Memphis Grizzlies, you heard it here first. They have a shot to make the NBA Finals. They got a really good shot of making the NBA Finals. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the Memphis Grizzlies, even if they don't make the NBA Finals, they're gonna be an extremely tough out.
Oh yeah, we know that. They're great defensively. Their offense has been very improving. If you notice that, they share the ball very well, and they're athletic too. They're very athletic too, and they're very high IQ. The Grizzlies have very high IQ players on that team. And Taylor Jenkins, he should be in the Coach of the Year running. Do you agree with that, Taylor Jenkins?
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Remember, LB, the Grizzlies were 9-10 to start the year, and John Morant missed a whole lot of games to start the year. And Dylan Brooks has not been healthy neither. He just came back, and yet they're still playing great ball because they know how to sacrifice for each other. The Grizzlies do have the potential to get to the NBA Finals. I have a friend of mine thinking the Grizzlies will make the Finals, though. I don't think they will make the Finals this year, but I will not be shocked because they're a team that grits and grinds every single game. And also, Taylor Jenkins uses his rotations well. He doesn't overuse his starters. He knows how to mix and match. So that's what I like watching from the grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies. But what do you think? Okay, but I want to ask you, what? I know you're not a big fan of the playing in game, but what play in matchup do you want to see personally, LB?
None. They ain't really no playing game matchup that that I'm all excited about. I mean, the Lakers will play. Who's the nice? They'll play New Orleans.
They'll play New Orleans. That's a 10 seed. Lakers
and then Minnesota will play
the LA Clippers. The Clippers, yeah.
And I'm really not excited about neither matchup. And then you go to the East. Toronto and Brooklyn with no Kyrie. Now, I'm not interested in that. And then you got 9-10.
Charlotte and Atlanta.
I mean, that might be the more entertaining. of all 4 of those games, that's probably the most entertaining one.
Ooh, but I want to ask you, why happens if we got a Clippers Lakers playing game?
I'm not excited about that. Clippers will whoop because Clippers going to whoop the Lakers.
even if Paul George and Kawhi don't come back, hypothetically speaking.
No, Clippers still going to win. I mean, they swept them all year without him.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But if we got a Raptors, let me find matchup. Toronto, Atlanta. You don't think that'll be interesting? Raptors, Hawks playing?
No.
Right.
I'll be doing. Look, I'll probably be trying to find a way to, find some dry steak somewhere.
Oh, you just won't really care for the playing games.
I don't care, but nah. I mean,
right.
I don't care about the playing game, but if there's one game I care about, it'll probably be Atlanta-Charlotte for the simple fact that's a rivalry. 2 teams of Atlanta and Charlotte's probably like about 4 hours from each other and all that. So there's a little rivalry there.
In the Southeast Division.
In the South, got a game in the South. Atlanta and Charlotte's like 4 hours apart.
Right.
So there's that dynamic going on. North Carolina, you got the Carolinas versus Georgia.
True.
Always that. I mean, those 2 cities always have that rivalry where Atlanta was the Mecca in the South, and Charlotte's that up-and-coming city where, a lot of businesses and a lot of other attractions are going there and things of that nature. So, you got the King of the South versus the Queen City. I mean, that's a nice little dynamic, nice little spin on it.
Mm-hmm. Right, I get that. I understand that. But if I had to choose a matchup for me that I think will be interesting, I think Toronto and Brooklyn will be a fun matchup for me. It seems a game that could be close. You're into Jurassic Park, no Kyrie Irving. I know Kyrie won't play, but you still have KD. You still got Scotty Barnes. You still got Fred VanVleet, who's had a phenomenal year. He struggled as of late, VanVleet, but he's had a phenomenal year. I think that'll probably be a close game. That'll probably be close still. But what do you think about the Miami Heat? They won the division, the Southeast Division. What do you think about the Miami Heat?
Miami Heat, they got a good shot to make the NBA Finals. They got a whole bunch of veterans on that team. Mm-hmm. Everybody know their role. Everybody plays their role. It's going to come down to the health of Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler's been in and out of the lineup, battling injuries and stuff like that. So if he's healthy, he can get back in it good and all that. They got a really good defensive team. They got a bunch of rough riders on there with Kyle Lowry, Markieff Morris, PJ Tucker, Oladipo, just to name a few. And you got guys that can make shots like, Tyler Hero, to a lesser extent, Duncan Robinson. He can get hot at one point or another, and say they got and then on top of that they got a coach who got the support of the organization, and they got a structure in place. And the people on that team fit that structure. They all know their role. They all play their role, and they're going to cause problems for a lot of teams.
Right. And it worked on it. And those are the 3-point shooting is underrated. Robinson can hit threes. Lowry can hit threes. Hero can hit threes. Morris can hit threes. And also Bam Adebayo. Don't forget about him. He's a great interior defender. He's an underrated passer. Can crash the glass, especially on the offensive glass. He can hit the mid-range shot. If they can get healthy, get Jimmy Butler back healthy, I have a bold prediction. Before the year, I had Suns Nets. I don't think the vaccine ban is going to be lifted. I got Suns Heat in the NBA Finals. I think Miami comes out the East. I think Miami's deep. They have good on-ball defense. Getting Kyle Lowry was big. And don't forget PJ Tucker, too. Tucker's a great on-ball defender. He can hit the corner three. And here's the thing. Tucker's won a championship. Lowry's won a championship. Markieff Morris has won a championship. So you have guys who won championships. And you
the
also
coach won championships.
Eric Spoelstra, he's won a championship. Pat Riley. So they have very experienced. And also Butler, Hero, Robinson, Bam. They've been to the NBA Finals, so there's some finals experience there. My only concern with the Heat is scoring sometimes because they can be streaky offensively, but if they can work on their offense, they're gonna be a tough out. What do you think about the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks? You think they can repeat this year?
Nope.
You don't think they'll repeat this year?
Nope.
Why do you say that?
Look, Giannis is sensational,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Chris Middleton, this Houdini axis was going to do them in.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Holiday, look, them losing PJ Tucker really hurt them. It's gonna cost them because now you don't got that one guy that can protect Giannis. Because look, PJ Tucker can go in there, defend the other team's best player, and get in foul trouble and stuff like that to protect Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bucks got a good shot going back, but it's gonna come down to a couple things. Chris Middleton not performing Houdini X, and Giannis making his free throws.
Right.
And to a lesser extent, Drew Holiday has been on some. He performs the disappearing acts too, man. In fact,
Sure, he's up and down. Yeah.
So you got to get consistent play out of those two, and then one more thing, and this, in my opinion, this is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Budenholzer.
His rotations are very questionable with those.
Mike Budenholzer, his coaching, man, and it's like, I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. It's like there's times he overplays Giannis, times he overplays Holiday, Middleton, times he doesn't utilize his bench. It's like, look, Budenholzer is a good coach because he did win Coach of the Year a few times. But my problem with Budenholzer, like you said, his rotations are very poor, and also he doesn't utilize the proper guys sometimes. Even last year, right? He didn't use Bobby Porter as much against Brooklyn, right? He didn't use him against Brooklyn. They almost cost him that series, though. If Durant's foot was just a little bit smaller, you can argue he would have been gone now. Budenholzer is a good coach, but he needs to learn to make proper adjustments. He did do a better job with that against Phoenix, but he just needs to make proper adjustments, though. And getting Brook Lopez does help a little bit because he can help with rim protection. He can stretch the floor. And he wasn't from an all-star, by the way. And also, getting Serge Ibaka, he does help defensively, but his jump shot can be up and down. It's an older Serge Ibaka. I just don't think the Bucks are going to repeat, though. I just don't see it this year, man. I just think teams, they have a bullet behind their back, man. Ooh, I want you to have an opinion on this team, the 76ers. What do you think about them?
Frauds.
You think they're frauds? Why?
Yep, I think they're frauds.
Let me guess. Joel Embiid and James Harden inconsistent in the playoffs?
And Doc Rivers.
And Doc Rivers has had his moments in which he doesn't get it done in the playoffs, like him blowing 3-1 leads to the Pistons in 2003, or him blowing a 3-1 lead to the Rockets in 2015, including blowing a 19-point lead in Game 6 at home, or him losing multiple Game 7s at home. In fact, losing a Game 7 last year at home to the Hawks.
Yep, and we all know James Harden, man. When
and
the light shine bright. When the light shine bright, that's when you can't find it.
And same thing with Joel Embiid sometimes. I like Harden and Embiid, but they're both very streaky in the playoffs, though. Because if you can be physical with these guys to get the ball out of their hands and get them to turn the ball over, then Philly's going to struggle. And here's another thing, too. Philly's not deep, man. They had the talent, but they're not deep. Their bench is not great. They don't have really shot.
You can thank Daryl Morey for that, getting on, because Daryl Morey gave up the house for this Bama.
Right. They traded. Yeah, they did. They traded Seth Curry, Ben Simmons, Andre Drummond to get James Harden and Paul Millsap. Yeah. They traded their shooting, their defense, and their playmaking. I mean, James Harden's a great player. He's a great player. He's a superstar, all-star, Hall of Famer. But you traded a lot of that to get a superstar, and you lose depth. Philly, at best, I can see Philly maybe in the second round. I think they might be Cleveland or Toronto in the first round, but in the second round, they have to play like Milwaukee or Brooklyn. They might lose that series though. Yeah, yeah, because I don't trust Harden and Embiid in close games, man. I'm not believing Harden and Embiid in close games, and Doc Rivers' rotation is gonna be very questionable. So yeah, so that's my thing. Wait, and LB had to step up a little bit. LB had to step out. Oh, he's back. Okay. Oh, you had to do something quickly, man.
No, it just lost connection slightly, so I lost the voice connection, so I had to refresh the page.
Right. I understand that. Ooh, what do you think about the Dallas Mavericks? What do you think about them?
Man. Man. I really don't see a whole lot from them.
Neil and Bob thinks they're going to the Western Conference Finals. That's not going to happen, man. They're not being
who's there?
Him. Neil and Bob says that the Mavericks are going to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think that's going to happen.
Definitely not.
They might beat the Jazz. They might beat Utah, but they're not beating Phoenix, though. Phoenix is too deep for Dallas. They're a better defensive team. Well, Dallas is great defensively themselves when you got Reggie Bullock, when you got Dinwiddie's played very well for the Mavs, by the way. Reggie Bullock's a good defender. Vinny Smith's played phenomenal defense. Here's some big shots for them. I just don't think the Mavs can score enough. Because here's the thing. The Mavs, even though they're a good defensive team, offensively, they can be inconsistent. And here's the thing. The Luka Doncic system. Yes, he can pass the ball. But teams are going to tire him out in the playoffs. If the Suns play the Mavs, right? You got Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder that can be physical with Luka Doncic to get the ball out of his hands. And if you get the ball out of his hands, who do you trust in the playoffs? Dinwiddie plays well in the regular season, but he's not that great in the playoffs, though. Bertans is inconsistent. Brunson's all right, but Brunson's not going to carry the Mavs to the final or in the playoffs. It's like Kleba, really? Kleba's a good defender. I mean, Kleba can shoot threes, but really, his offense is on and off. The Mavericks are not going to the Western Conference Finals. And here's another thing, too, right, LB? Did you know that the Jason Kidd has only won one playoff series as a head coach? One.
Yep.
That was against Toronto, 2014. And also, by the way, Kyle Lowry, it took Paul Pierce to block Kyle Lowry in Game 7 to win by 1 point in Game 7. Jason Kidd's a great player, but as a head coach, he's not a great coach, though. I'm sorry. How's this team going to the Western Conference Finals? How? Yes, they're going to be a tough out. I think they'll beat the Jazz. I'm not believing Utah. They'll beat the Jazz, in my opinion. But when they play the Suns, if the game is close, I trust Chris Paul and Devin Booker if the game is close. Luka is great. I love Luka Doncic, but who do you trust in that team in big moments of the playoffs other than Luka and the Mavs?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. How far do you see Dallas going, LB?
First round exit.
Oh, you think they lose to the Jazz in the first round?
Yeah. Because all the reasons you just explained. You got Jalen Brunson, Luka, and Dinwiddie, and that's it. You can't trust Dorian Finney-Smith. You can't trust Maxi Kleber. You can't trust Dwight Powell.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other guy they got is a scoring threat is Trey Burke, but they don't want to play him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lucas could be asked to do too much, and he might have some superhero efforts there, but I think teams going to make a concerted effort to tire him out and frustrate him. And another thing we talk about Luka Doncic, when you get him frustrated, he can start crying about calls and all that.
Right.
Get him teed up. So
that's a good point too. And he's not a good free throw shooter in the playoffs. Have you noticed that?
I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, unless someone steps up and be that complimentary guy to Luka Doncic, I mean, let's just be honest, the Dallas Mavericks are a bunch of frauds.
Whoa, frauds. Okay, so So you're seeing first round out, and the
Yeah, they're
Utah
first round
Jazz,
exit.
right?
Huh?
And speaking of the Utah Jazz, I remember you made a video about Quinn Snyder being on a hot seat. Do you still think he is?
Um, I would like for him to be on the hot seat. The problem is nobody else thinks he should be on the hot seat. I think he should be on the hot seat for the simple fact that, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they never got past the second round under his watch. They've stagnated.
Right. Their best chance was last year. Yeah.
They've stagnated, and when you stagnate like that, I mean, at some point, it's not the players. I mean, because they got the team that can, they got defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. They got a guy, Donovan Mitchell, that can create his own shot. They got a guy that can bring the ball up, and Mike Conley, scoring dependent. And they got guys that can score the basketball, like Bogdanovich and Jordan Clarkson and whatever. But they got Royce O'Neal, who's like a light version of Draymond Green. That could defend and hit timely shots and stuff like that. So they got everything in place. They can win the championship. The problem is, I just think their coaching has stagnated. And now there's a rumor about Quinn Snyder possibly replacing Greg Popovich when he retires. So, because I think Greg Popovich is going to retire after the season. I think he will. Okay. But yeah, Quinn Snyder, I mean, nobody give him no kind of. We talk about all these other coaches out here, like Terry Stotts, and he coached this year, thank God. But Mike Malone and all that. But I'm like, hold on, how come nobody's shining a light on Quinn Snyder? Quinn Snyder.
That's a good point.
We talking about all these other coaches. We talk about black coaches and all that being on the hot seat and all that. I'm like, what about this dude?
That's a good point, because Quinn Snyder, he won Coach of the Year last year, right? I mean, look at last year, right? For example, in game, you play the Clippers without Ibaka and Kawhi. You lose, you're up 2-0. You blow 4 games in a row. Game 5, you hit 17 threes in the first half and still lost. In Game 6, your team's up 25 in the third quarter, and you lose by a dozen. Really due to the fact that he left Rudy Gobert in too long to get killed in pick and rolls and pick and pops. And also the fact is that he doesn't manage his minutes of his starter sometimes. I do agree with you on Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder is a good regular season coach, but in the playoffs, I don't like his rotations in the playoffs. And another thing that could hurt the Jazz, they don't have perimeter defenders. That's the thing. Your best perimeter defenders, Royce O'Neal, they don't have perimeter defenders like that. I'm not believing this team, man. I don't see how this team goes far in the playoffs. So, how far do you think it can go? Second round and out?
I think if they get a bad matchup, they might be a first round out.
Well, the season ended right now. They'll be playing the Mavs in the first round.
I can see them getting past the Mavs.
Oh,
but they'll be. I can see them getting past the Mavericks, but I don't see them going no further past that. I don't see them beating Memphis. I don't see them beating Golden State. I don't see them beating Phoenix. So. Right.
And speaking of Golden State, if you had to make a guess, right? You before the year you picked them to go to the NBA. Not before the year, but during the year you picked them to go to the NBA Finals. You still on that train, or your mind has changed a little bit?
I know they hit a slump, but they got a good shot to go to the NBA Finals because, to your point, they have playoff experience. I mean, they won championships.
Some players. Not everyone has playoff experience.
No, but I'm talking about the core guys like Draymond, Steph, Clay, Andre Iguodala. Those guys have playoff experience. They know what it takes to win. To the lesser guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Juan Toscano Anderson and Jordan Poole and even Damian Lee. Those guys will follow the lead of Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green. Their key is going to be their health. Their health has been bugging them all year. Klay Thompson just came back with ACL tear. That kept him out 2 years. Draymond Green had the back injury. Stephen Curry now with the ankle.
The foot.
Well, the foot. I'm sorry, the foot. So it's going to be their health. And then Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr. I've been on Steve Kerr for being a fraud. Um, and I still think they got a good shot. Just depending on their health and
Matchups. Also, matchups mean something.
that's what I'm saying. And they get the right matchup, they got a good chance to go. But I'm I ain't one to be changing like the tides out here. What I'm saying. I make my prediction. I stand on my prediction. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Right. For me, man, I get your point, but this is just me, okay? I do think the Warriors can get to the second round. They may be the Western Conference Finals. I don't see NBA Finals. Here's why. One, Steph Curry's injury prone. Two, Klay Thompson has been up and down since he's come back. Draymond Green, yes, he's going to help defensively, but remember, he hurt his back though. He might not be the same defensively this year. Yes, I understand they're deep with Jordan Poole, Toscano, Wiggins, Otto Porter. I get that, but some of these guys have no playoff experience. That's going to matter though, because teams are going to make adjustments though. And listen, the Warriors can shoot the three. We know that. And they're a great defensive team themselves. But here's the thing. Teams are going to swarm the perimeter against Golden State, though. And also, you can't get them to turn the ball over. The Warriors are one of the worst teams when it comes to handling the ball because they get careless with the ball and throw to some lazy passing sometimes. And also, they're not a good free throw shooting team. They're not a very good free throw shooting team. Draymond struggles at the line. Looney struggles at the line. Iggy struggles at the line. They don't have a very good free throw shooting team, though, so we have to consider that too. And I love Steph and Klay, but let's be honest, LB. Sometimes, I said sometimes, they can be inconsistent in the playoffs. Sometimes. So that's my thing with them. And like you said with Steve Kerr needs to make the proper adjustments, man. This is just me. Don't you think he should put Klay on the bench right now? Because Klay doesn't feel comfortable as a starter this season. Yeah, Klay's a starter usually, but don't you think since he's come back from injury, they should let Klay come off the bench? What do you think about that?
That's gonna require buy-in, but it only works if the players buy into it. If there's friction about that, then it's not going to work. And
Right. That's true.
Hey, getting on, I got to get up out of here. I'm going to be studying. I got to study for some. I got my Microsoft certification coming up, so I'm gonna.
All right.
I'm gonna step out here, but I appreciate you for having me on.
You're welcome, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. Thank you.
Say again.
No, you about to say something. Go ahead.
I say, I appreciate you for having me on, and thank you for the contribution to my channel always. And I appreciate BX. What's this? BX Sports?
Yeah, BX Sports Jedi Network. Yeah.
BX Sports Jedi Network. I appreciate you for allowing getting on and having me come on. And and I just subscribed to your channel, so thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Come on anytime, man. And please, everyone, subscribe to Sports and Politician channel of LB. Please click those likes, smash those likes, everyone. Thank you for coming, LB, man. Thank you. You know your sports. You're a great guy. You're an amazing person. Thank you, man.
You're welcome, man. I appreciate it. Hurry.
Woohoo! Arf! Yeah, man. So that was LB. That was great. He knows his sports. He's a great guy. Humble, good person, man. It's been a wonderful day, though. So my final thoughts before I end the stream, though. The season's going to end soon around April 10. There's a lot of teams who have a lot to work for. There's a lot of teams who are on the verge of winning their division. Like, example, you have Philly on the verge of winning the Atlantic Division. Phoenix on the verge of winning the Pacific Division. There's a lot of teams out there who have a lot to prove. There's a lot of teams out there who have to get healthy. There's a lot of teams who have to share the ball, play some great defense. There's a lot of teams who are trying to get into the play-in, try to get to the playoffs out there. So hopefully teams can just stay healthy and strong. And it's like, if we and this has been a fun season. It's been amazing. It's been fun. So many injuries here and there. So I hope everyone can just stay healthy, just stay soundly. And it's been amazing for this whole season, though. Can't wait for the playoffs to come. Can't wait for the playoffs to come April 16. Can't wait for the season after April 10. Wait for the playing tournament to start April 12th. And that'll be crazy. And with that, I appreciate everyone for coming to this stream. Thank you everyone for subscribing to my channel. Hope everyone's doing safely and soundly. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your weekend and stay safe. See you later, everybody.